Coming up on the show, how important are early profits? We'll find out in a second. I'm Jay Adelson, and I'm the founder and chairman of Revision 3. I've built a number of companies. I've been hired as a CEO, and I've even been fired as one. For example, Equinix is a company I took public in 2000, and now has a market cap of over $4 billion. In 2008, I was incredibly honored to have been selected as one of Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. My goal is to pass on some of this knowledge to you, the budding entrepreneurs, and hopefully leave you with some words of wisdom. This episode of AskJay is brought to you by Gamefly. Adam asks, are ideas that don't have an immediate source of monetization worth pursuing as a novice entrepreneur? Adam, I think your question is essentially asking, does it need to make money right away? The general answer is no. I mean, I think a good business doesn't, by definition, make money right out the door. However, there needs to be a solid plan or path to profitability. Right? I find that just as a general rule, anytime you're raising money, anytime you're setting a strategic plan, you should have a map. And it could be wrong, but you have to have a best guess on how you're going to get from the point you start at to a point where the company is sustainable. And by sustainable, I mean it can basically make enough money to pay for its own expenses. Cash flow positive, profitable, however you want to phrase it. So in the end, the answer is not right away. And I'll give you some examples of what a business might look like. For example, you might have a website, like a consumer website, that needs to grow users first before you have enough volume, say, to sell ads on the website or whatever your commerce plan is. And so you want to focus on just making awesome features, capture your user base, and then later, maybe you throw ads on the site or you charge. You may have heard of freemium models for tech websites. These are websites that, by definition, there's a certain amount you get for free, and then hopefully the value is so great for them to upgrade to a pro account and then pay a monthly subscription. These are the sorts of models that require a certain amount of growth first, and then really the money follows later. As a general rule, if you have an awesome idea and people really love your product, there's a general rule that says they'll pay for it, although that's not always the case. There's a lot of criticism, for example, of Twitter, where, where's the business model for a long time. And if you ask the folks at Twitter, they'd say, that's totally okay. We expect there to be a delay before we start advertising or incorporating our business model into this. Right now, we're just going for the land grab, going for the user base. I think that's a perfectly reasonable business model. Now, if I were an investor, I would want that period before revenue starts to show up in the business to be shorter than a company like Twitter. I'd like to see, some evidence of the business model earlier on in the process, and that's just, one of the check boxes that investors ask. I know that typically in angel rounds and sometimes in Series A, a company may not have any revenue, but usually by the time you get to a B round of funding, this is often needed by tech companies, a B round of funding, you're going to have some revenue in your pocket and show growth on the revenue line in order for you to get that investment. I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to ensure monetization is part of the plan in a minute, but first I want to thank our sponsor. Gamefly is the largest online video game rental service and offers you a choice from over 7,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, Gamefly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. There are no late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done playing a game, send it back and Gamefly will send you the next available game on your list. If you really like the game you're playing, simply click Keep It on the Gamefly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. Gamefly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. AskJay fans get a 15-day free trial when they go to www.gamefly.com/J. Okay, so for today's homework assignment, first question to ask yourself, would you pay for your own product? And I know this sounds a little strange, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there I talk to who say, well, I don't know. Ask yourself the question, be honest with yourself, would you pay for it? If you have advertising on a website, would it annoy you so much that you wouldn't use it? Would you go to the one without advertising? I mean, Google's front page to this day, when you first type in your first search request, has very little to distract you on that page. People don't like distractions. So ask yourself the question, if you're going to wait till later to be charging, would you in fact pay for your own product? I guess the second question, and this is probably a more of a typical business question, which is, can you charge enough for what you're doing in the future? It could be you could have a growth rate planned, but can you charge enough to offset the cost of operating your business? This is a question that most investors should be asking you over the long term, or asking themselves, because they want to know that, say you hit this great growth curve, you're getting usage like crazy, whatever it is, your product's being consumed, but does the, in fact, price offset the cost? The classic story I think everybody read about was when the Xbox launched, and how everyone knew that the cost of the Xbox was much more at first than people were actually paying for the Xbox. Microsoft knew that they would be able to get that cost down in time and eventually make a margin on that product. So that's the second piece. And I think if those two, if you can get through those two questions, you'll be really well prepared for an investor. That's it for this episode. We need your questions. We need more questions. Please send them to AskJay at revision3.com. Post them to Twitter at Jay Adelson. Or, you could do a video response. We'll try and use it here on the air if it's, unless it's really scary, a scary video response, and that can happen. But anyway, send us your questions or send us your beer. There'll be an address on the show page. Prager, put an address there. I want beer. Feel free to send it along, whatever it takes. And until next time, thanks for joining us.